Hello children, welcome back our next class. In this class, we should learn about Geography 4th chapter, Agriculture. Before starting the topic, first I would like to say about a small summary. So dear children, watch the class carefully. The word agriculture is derived from the Latin words ager or agri, meaning soil, and culture, meaning cultivation. Agriculture is a primary activity that includes growing crops, fruits, vegetables, flowers, and rearing of livestock. In the world, 50% of persons are engaged in agricultural activity. 2/3 of India's population is still dependent on agriculture. Before starting this topic, first we must know about what is economic activities. Activities which are related to earning livelihood are called economic activities. There are three main types of economic activities. The first one is primary activities, the second one is secondary activities, and the last one is tertiary activities. There are three main types of economic activities. The first one is, what is primary activity? Primary activities include all those connected with extraction and production of natural resources. The next one, secondary activity. Secondary activities are concerned with the processing of these resources. The next one is tertiary activities. Tertiary activities provide support to the primary and secondary sectors through services. So tertiary sector, otherwise known as service sector. These are some examples of primary, secondary and tertiary activities. The first one, primary activities. Examples are agriculture, fishing and gathering. Secondary activities examples are manufacturing of steel, baking of bread and weaving of cloth, etc. The examples of tertiary activities are transport, trade, banking, insurance and advertising, etc. So these are the examples of primary, secondary and tertiary activities. Dear children, we are moving the first topic of this chapter, that is introduction. Agriculture is a primary activity as it includes growing crops, fruits, vegetables, flowers and rearing of livestock. 50% of persons engaged in agricultural activity in world, and in India 2/3 of population is still dependent on it. Favorable topography of soil and climate are vital for agricultural activity. The land on which the crops are grown is known as arable land. The next topic is farm system. Farming is a kind of system in which various inputs and processes are involved to obtain production. Machineries, seeds, and fertilizers are the physical input of agriculture. Labor is the human input. Crops are the outputs of agriculture. The next topic is type of farming. Farming depends upon the geographical condition, demand of produce, labor, and level of technology. There are two main types of farming. First one is subsistence farming and commercial farming. So there are two main types of farming. They are subsistence of farming and commercial farming. Subsistence of farming is the first type of farming. So dear children, please take your textbook. Subsistence of farming is a practice to meet the needs of the farmer's family and needs less technology and labor. Subsistence of farming can be further divided into two main types. They are intensive subsistence and primitive subsistence farming. So don't forget that, dear children. Subsistence of farming is the main type of farming. So this type of farming can further divide it into two main types. That is intensive subsistence of farming and primitive subsistence of farming. So please underline it from in your textbook. The next one is the subdivisions of subsistence of farming. There are two main subdivisions of subsistence of farming. They are intensive farming and primitive farming. The first one is intensive farming. Intensive farming is an agricultural intensification and mechanization system that aims to maximize yield from available land through various means, such as heavy use of pesticide and chemical fertilizers. The primitive farming is practiced on small patches of land. Primitive tools and family, community, labor are used in this type of farming. So subsistence of farming may be further divided into two main types. The first one intensive farming, next one is primitive farming. The next topic is commercial farming. This is one of the major type of farming. Commercial farming is a farming in which an agricultural crop is grown for sale to return a profit. Tobacco is an example of commercial farming. It is grown largely in semi-arid and rain-fed areas where the cultivation of alternative crops is economically available. India is the world's second largest producer of tobacco. Commercial farming include two main types. The first one is mixed farming and the second one is plantation. So commercial farming is one of the major type of farming. It includes two main types. The first one is mixed farming and the second one is plantation. Please underline in your textbook. The next topic is mixed farming. Mixed farming is a type of farming which involves both the growing of crops and the raising of livestock. The cultivation of crops alongside the rearing of animals for meat or milk defines mixed farming. For example, a mixed farm may grow cereal crops such as wheat and also keep cattle, sheep, pigs or poultry. The next one is plantation. Plantation farming is one of the commercial farming. Plantation is a large-scale estate generally centered on a plantation house meant for farming that specializes in cash crops. The crops that are grown include cotton, coffee, tea, cocoa, sugarcane, opium, oilseed, oil palm, fruits, rubber trees and forest trees.
Agriculture. The term agriculture is derived from Latin words ager, pieces of land, and culture, ploughing or tilling. The term agriculture, however, is not restricted to growing of crops, rather it includes rearing of animals also. Some scholars include animal husbandry, forestry, horticulture, fishing, sericulture, and poultry also in agriculture. Agriculture is one of the oldest activities of mankind. Agriculture is the most basic resource as it provides food, clothing, and shelter to mankind. Since time immemorial, the spread of agriculture in various parts of the world recorded progress from the use of most primitive implements to the most modern implements of today. Most of the farming operations are highly mechanized. The dawn of agriculture may be traced back to the Neolithic period. The early river valley civilizations that arose on the banks of rivers in river valleys and their deltas were based on agriculture only. Later, agriculture expanded in drier and colder regions. The map given above shows the distribution of arable land in the world. You will notice that cultivation of crops is possible only in limited areas. Soil, temperature, and rainfall are some of the important physical controls. Every crop has certain basic requirements of temperature, moisture, and nutrients. While some crops are suitable for tropical climate, others may be grown only in subtropical and temperate regions. Methods of cultivation have improved a lot since ancient times. The early farmers used only simple tools like hoes and sickles. Gradually, ox-drawn plows were introduced. In developed countries today, all farm operations have been mechanized. Tractors with multiple attachments perform different functions. It has reduced the number of people occupied in agricultural work. Large number of people in these countries are engaged in other occupations like industries and services. Types of agriculture. Based on agricultural practices, crops grown, the types of livestock kept, and the proportion of output retained by the farmer, agriculture may be broadly divided into two categories. 1. Subsistence agriculture. 2. Commercial agriculture. Subsistence agriculture. This type of agriculture is practiced mainly to meet the requirements of the local community. Most of the products are grown and consumed within the area where they are produced. It includes mainly three types of agricultural practices. A. Nomadic herding. B. Shifting cultivation. C. intensive agriculture. Nomadic herding. This is practiced by those people who rear cattle, sheep, goats, camels and yak. These animals are dependent on natural vegetation in the area. Herders move with their animals from one place to another in search of fodder. Shifting cultivation. It is a simple and primitive method of farming. This type of farming is practiced by clearing a patch of forest or by burning bushes. A patch of land is cleared and then cultivated. It is also known as slash and burn agriculture. When the crops are ready, the people join together, harvest and store for consumption. These people do not lead a settled life. The land is prepared for cultivation by felling trees and burning them. Crops like maize and cassava are grown using simple tools. The produce is consumed by the community. People move from one area to another when soil loses its fertility. Intensive agriculture. In this method of farming, even from a small piece of land, farmers get a very high yield by using good quality seeds, ample fertilizers, ensuring regular water supply and applying more laborers. Besides, more than one crop is taken from the same piece of land because of fertile soil and good climate. It is prevalent mostly in the monsoon regions of South, Southeast and East Asia. Rice is the main crop. Besides, wheat, maize, pulses and oilseeds are also grown. A variety of crops are usually grown by a farmer because most of the produce is for their own consumption. Commercial agriculture. The main purpose of this kind of agriculture is to sell the produce in the market. Therefore, one particular crop suitable for the region is selected by the farmer. It is called crop specialization. This type of agriculture has two main forms. Commercial grain farming. This is mostly practiced in middle latitudes. Crops are grown for commercial purpose in many developed countries such as Canada, USA, Russia, Ukraine, Argentina and Australia, and in some parts of India. Wheat is the most important crop grown in India. In USA, there are distinct wheat, corn and cotton belts. In these areas, population density is low. As a result, per person availability of land is very high. Farms are of big sizes spreading over hundreds of hectares. Most of the work on the farms are done by machines like tractors, levelers, seed drills and combined harvesters. Compared to intensive agriculture, the amount of labor and capital applied per unit area is relatively small. Here, it is therefore called extensive agriculture. But the total production is very high because of large area under cultivation. In Europe, there has been a trend for diversification of crops instead of specialization. The crops grown are cereals, vegetables, oilseeds and roots. When crops are combined with livestock, the type of farming is known as mixed farming. Raising of cattle for milk products known as dairy farming is also prevalent in most of the countries. Plantation agriculture. Plantation agriculture is the practice of agriculture which is a specialization of a single crop over large estates or farms where most of the work is done by a scientific basis and where the product is processed before it becomes market-oriented. Most of the plantations are grown in the tropical region under hot and humid climatic conditions. The plantations are large in size and a large number of laborers are needed to work on them. Though there are fluctuations in the international market, yet plantation agriculture is profitable. These plantations were originally developed by Europeans. Now, most of them are owned and managed by the local governments or private companies. The produce is sold in the national as well as international market. Tea in India and Sri Lanka, coffee in Brazil and Colombia, banana in Latin America and Caribbean islands, cocoa in Ghana, sugarcane in Cuba, etc. are some specialized plantation crops. Earlier, the plantations were developed in colonies. With colonialism coming to an end, the plantations are now managed by the local residents of independent states. Horticulture, growing of fruits and vegetables, truck farming, growing of vegetables around big cities for local consumption, and floriculture, growing of flowers, have also emerged as new trends in commercial agriculture. Trivia: the International Assessment of Agricultural Science and Technology for Development, IAA-STD, focuses on agriculture as the provider of food, nutrition, health, environmental services, and economic growth that is both sustainable and socially equitable.